Well, welcome to the Brohemian Rhapsody Show presented by, we don't have a sponsor yet, but click like and subscribe below for all future content. On the show, we're going to discuss the current state of Chicago sports franchises, among other topics along the way. The original lineup, Rocky, Colt, and Tum Tum, my brothers. Gentlemen, how you doing this evening?
Very well. Thank you.
Doing well, thanks.
Good. Well, let's get right to it. Matthew, since you're my younger brother, I'll give it to Jeremy first. Saw your shirt, man. Bears.
Mitch.
I
just want to say that I was one of the few Mitch supporters, and it feels good to be right to a point. I'm still not convinced that, so there's different levels of, Bears fans when it comes to quarterbacks, right? I mean, there's like the people that called for Chase Daniels the whole time. That was going to be the savior, like the irrational, whoever the backup is, like going to be the savior. There's that kind of fan.
Caleb Haney.
Yeah. Haney, great. What? No. I always said that Mitch, if you put him in a good system, use his strengths, this could be it. I mean, this offense, you saw him make a freaking retarded, sorry, that's not a politically correct term, but
We're canceled already before we got picked up.
You saw a special needs throw in the end zone. He's going to have that. So he's not going to be Patrick Mahomes. He's not going to be, who's the other, the guy from Baltimore, Lamar Jackson. He's not going to be Lamar Jackson. But if you use him the right way, you can have a offense that could put up 20-plus points a game, which was all we were asking for before. Put up over 20 points a game. If you have a great defense, which we can talk about that later, you can win games. And it's just nice to see them actually doing what makes sense the whole time that I've been saying for 2.5 years.
Matthew, go ahead.
Yeah, it's it's frustrating being a fan of this team and watching this same team, this same roster.
See what happens. You talk shit about Mitch, and all of a sudden you can't drink a beer. All right, sorry, Matthew. I was distracted by the freshman over there. I remember my first beer.
But yeah, you see the same team lose to the Lions. Take some really bad L's this year, and then you turn around and have this type of performance. And to be honest with you, Mitch could have played better, especially in the first half. He made a couple of bonehead type, like old school early Mitch plays, but they did what they could. I want to point out the fans, which I thought were hilarious. All the Jacksonville fans rooting so hard for the Bears. Could you imagine
marking out
Jacksonville players trying to try your hardest? Like, imagine being an offensive lineman. You got to block for Mike Glennon and the
was on today
cheering against you at your own home stadium. Like, that's got to be terrible.
Oh, good news for Jacksonville. Side note: the Jets going Jets. They might finish a 3-game winning streak if they play the Pats next week, and T-Law is going to Jacksonville if he declares the draft. But I'll throw it back to you, little man. Maybe it's the Bears fan in me. Maybe it's a cynic in me. I don't know if I use that word right. Sorry, I'm getting a little old, my old age. Is there any frustration, like after this 3-game winning streak, and you see now, albeit against subpar team defenses at least, Texans, Vikings, Jaguars, but is there a little bit of frustration? Or I was. After the win that they marinated, I'm like, man, this team has scored 36, 33, and 41 in the last 3 weeks. When they've done, and Jeremy's alluded to it, I think, and we've all said it, like they've kind of watered down the playbook where we're going to play to Mitch's strengths, let Mitch stare down 12, get the tight ends involved when we can, and run. It's like, where was this, against those very winnable games, against good teams? The Saints game was very winnable. The Titans game was very winnable. The Vikings, I wouldn't say a good team. That was winnable. The Colts, even going all the way back in time to week 4, winnable. What's your level of frustration when it's like, yeah, we still have a chance, we control our own destiny, but it's like, I just rattled off 4 games that if this scheme was in place, I feel like there's 1 or 2 wins there.
What's extremely frustrating for me is that this is the best offensive line that the Bears have had all year, the best offensive line play they've had all year, even week 1 when everyone was healthy. And what? It's 2 guys that started the year on the practice squad. And they come in and are able to do a good enough job. I look back and I think Nick Foles got he had a big disadvantage. He didn't have 3 seconds to throw the ball. He was getting constantly hit. Like, you talk about his old man, like, yeah, his back probably still hurts because he's got Rashad Coward blocking for him and pass block.
Arlington Hambright started a game. Don't forget that.
What's up with the Bears just like taking these garbage tackles too? Like, Coward played defensive line in college. Like, they all think themselves like, oh, I got a guy who played D-line. He's gonna be great on the O-line. What? It's gonna work.
You know, it's funny. Don't you remember what's his name? Henry Melton?
Yeah.
He was like a running back, and they flipped him to D tackle. Now the difference was he had coaches who could coach up his level, but he was like a premier D tackle. So this is like, the Bears are not new to this of like, we're gonna draft a guy and flip him to another position. But I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. I think the glue has been Sam Musserfer.
Yeah.
You know, like, Whitehair is better at guard. Now, he's better at center than Daniels is, but it's like Daniel and Whitehair should be guards because that's what they can be above. You know, a year ago, I was like, I thought Whitehair was elite. I think he's up, maybe not elite, but like he could be a top 10 left guard in this league. I have a hard time naming 10 left guards, not 10 total guards, just 10 left guards better than Whitehair. But Sam Musfer, like, played the position in college, played at a school, biased his side. He played at a school that produces linemen well, coaches linemen well. And again, he was a UDFA, undrafted free agent. But to your point, like, a guy who wasn't even drafted just because walk in and, you know, visually you can see how much better he is than whatever the Bears are throwing out there the first almost 3/4 of the season. But
true, but it's
most overrated players, and I'll give it to Jeremy. Mitch and David Montgomery are getting a lot of credit for what that O-line is able to do for them, especially David Montgomery. I like him. He's a solid NFL back, but his holes have been pretty big.
Oh, absolutely. You're right. But it's also a chicken and the egg thing. But I will say you're right. I watched a little bit of the Vikings game. Saw a highlight where David Montgomery scored a touchdown. Cody Whitehair just pancaked a guy. Like, O-line is definitely creating holes that Montgomery never had early in his career.
I think I'm with you, Matthew, where a lot of credit's gone toward, I mean, as it usually does in football, quarterback and skill positions. But I will say, like, Montgomery has a skill set to be again, I keep saying it's top 10 back in the league, though. Like, he finishes his runs well. He has a decent second gear. I mean, he's not like lights out speed, but you know, you're seeing like Dalvin Cook, for example. He's not near him, but Dalvin Cook isn't lights out speed, but he finishes runs well. Derrick Henry, you know, Kamara's probably the fastest of the three, but like, they're guys who have that second gear where they can break tackles. It's like, I feel like Montgomery now has the energy to finish games because it's not just running into 4 linemen, you know, offense, defensive linemen, because there's just no hole being created. I think it's a hand-in-hand situation where the line is playing better, thus giving David more opportunities. But like, he had a couple runs say that were on him, broken tackle. I think one in the red zone could have been a 2-yard run turned into 8 or 9 yards. That, again, I don't think Artavius Pierce can do that. You know, I don't think Ryan Nall can do that. I'm damn positive Cordell Patterson can't do that. So it's you know what, though? And again, it's a tale of two halves for me today. We focus on today. Tied at 13-10 at halftime because of the Glenn on. And why is Jacksonville throwing the ball there, by the way? Mitch gifts you a pick, and you're just like, fuck it, we're going to sling Glenn on out. It's like, I sat there like, why are they throwing the ball? Take the knee and go to the locker room.
Glennon was slinging it up till then.
Yeah, well, thank God. Well, again, though, then he came back down to earth. And by slinging, you mean, except for that one pass, a touchdown pass, it was 7-yard checkdowns. But what the hell was I saying? The first half was 8 Montgomery runs to 20 passes for Mitch. And then they flip in the second half, and then they just pull away. Like,
it's hard to break down these things. Like, it's easy to say run the ball, like, yeah, but you know, when the O-line is playing well, your quarterback's going to look good, your running back's going to look good, but at the same time, when your scheme changes too, where you're going to dedicate to the run, that makes your O-line play better. So it's hard to say, and it also, with Mitch running around more, it's going to make your pass protection look better. So it's hard to really pick out, you know.
I think the second quarter specifically, Jimmy, it was just like naked boot, play action, boot. It was just like you have to, in order for the play action to work, you have to at least, even if you run the ball for a 2-yard gain, you got to at least run the ball to get that bite going. But
I mean, I think the thing, of course, that you mentioned, we've played really bad teams lately, so I don't think this is going to keep up against.
But you know what though? Here's my devil's advocate to that. At least we're beating the piss out of bad teams. You know, if these were all 17-13 wins with the special teams defensive, I'd be like, yeah, it ain't gonna happen. But like, hey, Jeremy, as we know, this is a game of momentum.
Yeah.
If the Bears were to win to get in next week, and they're in a 4-game winning streak, and you know the Packers right now are up by 3 scores, I believe, against the Titans. So if the Bears were to beat the Packers, now the Packers win, we're going to get a lot of backups, second stringers next week at Soldier Field. But you get 4 wins, end the year on a 4-game winning streak, and the defense gets healthier. Duke Shelley's no longer starting. Jalen Johnson's in. Buster Skrine's out there doing Buster Skrine things. You know, I'm just if you can get, especially in the NFC, where the Packers have won a Super Bowl as a wild card team, the Giants have done it twice as a wild card team. Like, not that this team's not winning the Super Bowl, but they can make some noise. They can win a game, or maybe play the Saints tough. It'll be good to have a playoff football game for the second time in 3 years. And what time this century? 2005, 2006, 2010, 6th time this century. It'll be good. But any other notes? I have one final note I want to talk about, but throw it to Matthew. Any notes? Any other things you want to touch on for the game today or even next week?
I mean, I think overall, I mean, it's crappy teams. The secondary has played surprisingly well considering the injuries that they've sustained. And I think the other thing that happened to the Bears running game is Cordero Patterson got that little injury. And, like, thank God, because that experiment seems to be dead. And I am so glad. Like, I'd rather have Pierce take carries or Nall than Patterson. So
or Lamar Miller's corpse. I mean, I'd rather have a running back play running back. I'm with you.
Apparently,
sorry? Oh, God.
Have running plays at the half-yard too.
That play is just
God. The only couple of points I want to make. One, the defense needs to wake up and be elite. I mean, they were in the second half, but they need to, if this team's going to make any noise in the playoffs, they absolutely need the defense to be the better part of the team. That's where all the money is. That's where all the second point, before we're done with Bears, I want to hear all of our thoughts on what are they going to do at quarterback next year.
Well, I'll tell you what they're not going to do, or they shouldn't do. Nick Foles today, to my point, the one throw he made, the noise he made to sling that 6-yard whizzer that was 3 yards, my back and legs hurt hearing, like, he looks like a statue, like an actual physical statue is in the backfield. He can't throw now anymore. He's in pain to do the throwing motion. He's on the hook. I mean, do you want me to say franchise tag Mitch? Because I don't want that. I don't think they should.
How much does that cost, by the way?
Franchise tag is the average of the top 5 quarterback. It's top 5 position salaries.
Is that like $20 million a year?
It'd be more than that because I believe Mahomes' contracts. It'd be because Rodgers is over 30, Brady's at 30, Watson's contract kicks in, so I think he's at 30. So we're looking at over probably $25 to $30 million for Mitch.
My rational father brought that up. He's like, "Oh, it's just money, but like that's way too much."
Well, the Bears have no salary.
They have no cap space, so
they have no cap space, and we don't have Allen Robinson signed. See, I think Allen Robinson's more. I'd rather franchise tag Allen Robinson.
Ugh, what are we gonna do though? Like seriously, like I hope for the best this year, but like I feel like we're so screwed because Mitch is. When he asked about the question, he was kind of giving a lukewarm like, see what happens. Like he probably wants out. I don't blame him. He
probably wants a fresh start. He probably wants a fresh start because he won't get long-term commitment from the Bears.
He's probably not going to get long-term
commitment. What, the Jets are going to take?
No, but okay. I feel that if he goes elsewhere on a 1-year prove-it deal, if he does well, he can get a commitment. If he comes back next year and the Bears go again next year, they're not going to back up the Brinks truck for him.
Well, I feel like he's probably just going to go take the money for 1 year then, and someone else is going to get more money than the Bears.
Well, I mean, like he'd probably have to do what Tannehill did, like go sign an initial backup contract, hope for a chance to get a chance to play, and then break bank. Or okay, a Teddy Bridgewater situation. Goes to New Orleans, gets some snaps, wins some games, and then gets paid to be a starter. I mean, now what the Bears ideally, well, I don't say ideal. Well, I mean, okay, if the Bears go 9-7, they're picking in the high teens, early 20s in the draft. So T-Law's gone. Justin Fields, who I'm not high on, is gone. Zach Wilson from BYU will be gone. So now we're talking about the Kyle Trasks of the world. Mac Jones might be gone, depending on how the next 3 weekends go. So it's like, I don't know if it's the draft. So now, would you be interested in if Garoppolo's available? If Matt Ryan's available? I mean,
how are we paying for them?
How are we paying? Well, okay, we cut Jimmy Graham. We cut Buster Skrine. That's I think 11 million. Cut Bobby Massey. It's another 5 million.
Okay.
There's 15 million. So the problem is that's all we got. So, and that's without Allen Robinson.
It's not looking good.
Do you cut?
Can we sell Robert Quinn's contract? The
line. Oh my God!
Bag of balls. Just take the contract.
Well, honestly, the one position that you could possibly trade from, that you can create caps, if you trade Goldman or Hicks, because they kind of play the same position, and both are making a decent coin, and you can get cap relief. I know that's not the popular. That's how you can get draft capital and cap space. Is giving up an actual asset.
I think that's going to be the most interesting thing in the offseason. Like, what's the plan after this year? Because it's like kind of just like letting it ride, and we'll see what happens. And of course, as Bears fans, we're gonna hope that they can create some noise out of nowhere, and like you said, momentum. But after this year, I feel like we're screwed.
I just don't want another statue quarterback.
That's all we got. We got Foles, and you had Garoppolo, Ryan, all statues.
Well, Garoppolo's not as statue as Ryan is, and I like Matty Ice. He's an Irish Catholic, but it's.
You know what would be great is if somewhere, I don't know if he exists somewhere, but if there's like a Russell Wilson type somewhere that's like, rated low for some reason, but a really high character guy that could come in, that would be great. And he could be athletic.
Is there some kid from like Wyoming? I don't know. Or some small school?
No, that's Trey Lance. He will probably be gone by the time the Bears pick, unless the Bears trade up. And first off, okay, I'll throw it back to you, Jeremy. I know we're talking a little longer Bears than we wanted to. The Bears in the playoffs, Ryan Pace and Nagy are back. Fact. Do you want Ryan Pace drafting another quarterback? Do you want Ryan Pace trading draft capital for another quarterback?
Oh, they're all bad situations. I think you have to at least sit down with Mitch and his agent and be like, what's your asking price? How can we get you to stay here for a year if they make some noise in the playoffs?
I just think...
Because I think you have to convince them it's a win-win. Be like, you'll have a chance to start. You're going to be our starter here. And if you play well, you're still a free agent. You can choose to go somewhere else. It's a win-win.
I mean, do you guys think that possibly COVID, where not a lot of teams might be willing to shell out, like, for example, I don't think Mitch can get what Mike Glennon got from the Bears because of the current state of sports.
It's going to be hard for another team to buy like a long-term contract on Mitch Trubisky and be like, "Oh, we got our guy." Like the other team's fan base is going to be in an uproar.
Yeah, I don't have. It's a fair question. I just don't have the answer because I prefer a veteran quarter because what we get available in the draft for a rookie, I don't think I want him starting next year. So I'd rather
take a Tyrod Taylor, Matthews guy.
Who?
Tyrod Taylor.
Is his lung attached to his body? And that poor guy, he can't catch a break. His own team tries to kill him. I mean, would you want Sam Darnold if they? No, he left. He left. No, Jeremy's left the conversation. Like the old what was AIM? What was AIM or group chats? Chat rooms.
I'll tell
Showing
you,
my
I
age.
see Mitch Trubisky somehow winning a playoff game and then like someone overpays.
Okay.
Way overpays.
All right, Matthew. Since you love me, you stay with me. Your final thought, Bears today.
It was good to see them pull off in the second half. The third quarter was amazing for as much terrible third quarters. And here we are. Hey, Jonathan.
Future Bears quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Bear down, buddy.
I got hair.
But,
Jonathan, what was your favorite the Bears game today?
He didn't watch anything.
Yeah.
His probably favorite was Garbage Truck. So, God, he found my phone. Mama abandoned you to brush your teeth.
But, yeah, that's my final thought. Third quarter, it was nice to see them dominate a third quarter because they hadn't done it all year. How about you, Kevin?
They're beating teams they should. It's a very important game next week. I'm all the way back in on the Bears, and I think the Bears are going to make the playoffs. I think that I do not think the Cardinals are going to beat the Rams, especially after the Rams lost again today. I was a little surprised by that. So they've lost to the Jets and Seahawks, and they've looked pathetic on offense while doing it. But I do think that Bears will be in the playoffs. And just one final note, as of right now, the top 5 quarterbacks ranked Clemson. Trevor Lawrence from Clemson, Justin Fields from Ohio State, Trey Lance from North Dakota State, and then Zach, Sam Ellinger, Texas, Brock Purdy, Iowa State. So I take a veteran over Brock Purdy, personally. But final thought, bear down, 8-7, going for 9-7, playoff spot. Bring on the Saints.
Who are beatable if the defense plays at an elite level.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Speaking of awkward transitions, the Bulls.
Oh, do we have to?
We can make it quick. Like their chances to win games are very quick.
Fuck. Garpax is gone. Boylan's gone. Change.
Kevin, I thought you had I thought you had the best take on this when we were texting the other day with Byron. So can you repeat for all of our fans what your theory is on all these players, what you think they're doing?
I have a lot of amazing takes. So you're going to be a little more specific. I'm sorry. I'm such a sports savant, obviously. What did I say?
We were talking about like playing time and why it seems like all these rookies and whoever and theory that you remember.
Yeah, no. I believe that when AK, the vice president of operations, and Mark Eversley wooed Billy Donovan, it was like, look, dude, in 3 years, this roster is going to look nothing like what it looks like today. They're basically, I think, playing younger guys in tough roles or in uncomfortable situations, basically to see who can stick around. I don't think Zach LaVine's on the team a year from now. I think they're going to trade him. I'm not sure Wendell Carr's on the team a year from now. Otto Porter will not be on the team a year from now. I think they're saying, look, we're going to, because they're not playing like Denzel Valentine at all. Like they're really playing guys that, again, they drafted Patrick Williams and they're high on Kobe White. So I think they are basically looking to play not the worst players, but some players who probably aren't really ready for certain, minute logs and that type of stuff, so they can have a pretty crappy another draft pick. Because basically this team is 2 stars and a bunch of defense away from being a contender, which is everything. I mean, they have a bunch of guys who can be role players on a really good team. It's just the fact of the matter. So I think that this is a year that they went into this year saying, look, it's COVID, it's a shortened year. We're just going to play the bottom barrel. We're not going to play good. We're just going to basically see what we got and restart next year. Because no one's getting fired. You can't. You're not going to fire Billy D. You're not going to fire AK. So I would like to see some defensive effort. I mean, some. That is like.
What was it? 80 points and a half?
Yeah, 80 points and a half first night, and then they were last night against the Pacers. They're up by 6, and then the Pacers went on like a 28-2 run. It was like some ungodly run. Basically, in like a short span, the Bulls went from up 6 to down 21. It's just like, and I'll throw it to you guys. Their shot selection's piss poor. Piss poor. They don't attack the rim as much as I'd like to see. They settle for contested shots. If you're not going to be able to score, you got to get stops to get transition buckets, to get Patrick Williams going, to get Kobe White going. My expectation level was a little higher than what I've seen the first 2 games. Now it's just get draft picks, move on from Otto Porter. I'm done with the Zach LaVine experiment. Markkanen, your guys' thoughts on Markkanen? Would you want him to be on the team long term?
The Mavericks might overpay for him, so that'd be great. They love those Euro stars. I don't know.
He could be the 3rd best player is what maybe. Got a good team.
Yeah, Bulls have to pay him though to be the best. I mean, it's like
no,
it's just
I don't want no.
Well, no, I'm just look. I like Mark, and I just feel like what he can provide, the Bulls they're not going to be at the competing level for what he's got right now. So why not move on from him? Like,
Correct.
don't pull. Listen, what I don't want is them to do what they did with Nico. Nico's trade value was insanely high when the Bulls were contenders, and it was still high when he was kind of playing. Then he got his jaw broken by his own teammate, and then it's like he had no value. So it's like it's just like if you're not going to compete, I just move on from anyone with value and get draft picks and have no cap space and overpay for a guy to come to Chicago. And the worst part is that they're the 2nd most promising team in Chicago. And they're awful. Are they winning? They're winning right now, but they're awful.
Bulls are winning?
Up by 4 against the Warriors in the 3rd quarter. Warriors with no Klay Thompson, no Draymond Green, up by 4. They've only given up 80 points through 2.5 quarters. Progress.
Well, that's my thing is, like, what's their identity? Like, this is how I feel about the Bears, too. Like, now they finally have an identity, at least. It's like, in theory, we're going to play good defense. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes that doesn't. And we're going to try to run the ball, and we're going to try to play action and, like, use Mitch's athleticism. Okay, they have an identity. That's what they're going to do. And, like, they're going to do it well. What are the Bulls going to do? They're going to try to outscore teams with LaVine and Markkanen, Wendell, Kobe. Like, those aren't stars that are going to outscore anyone and not play defense. That's their identity.
I think their identity right now, Matthew, I'm sorry to cut you off, is just like they don't have an identity because I think the type of team that the front office wants to put on the floor and the type of team Billy Donovan wants to coach, that team is not in Chicago right now.
So what are you doing? Just trying to lose, basically?
You're trying to see what you got. You're trying to see if there's anything with what you got right now for the next phase, which is the phase. I mean, that's the truth. Like, if you look at the last good Bulls team, and I don't count the Dwayne Wade 1 year, I'm coming to save Chicago, asshole. I'm talking Tibbs team, when they fired my coach Vinny, they went out and they got the Booze Cruise, but they also got like Ronnie Brewer, CJ Watson. They went out and got guys that were going to fit Tibbs' system. We're going to get defenders. We're going to go deep on the bench. We're going to have guys who can, except for Keith Bogans, we have guys that actually can play the game of basketball. We're like, the Bulls didn't really, do you consider signing Garrett Temple an offseason addition? Like, they didn't really do anything to improve this roster, which to me says look, we want to see what we got. We don't want to invest money in what could possibly get us 3 to 5 more wins. Let's see if marketing can be a top scoring option. Can Zach LaVine be the star? Are they? I think they're.
Those answers are known, and those answers are no.
Well, then they're tanking without making it known. My opinion.
Fairly obvious if you watch them for more than a quarter.
I watched a full half of preseason basketball, so I don't. Is Denzel hurt? Because I like Denzel Valentine. I'll throw it to you, Jeremy, for your Bulls take, and then Matthew, you can finish up the Bulls. I've been talking too much. I want Denzel in the games. I like Denzel's game. I liked him in college. Smart player, can defend. He can defend.
My knowledge of the Bulls is I think I've already told everything I could say about them, so I'll give it to Matthew because I'm just waiting to see what they have because right now I don't know what their vision is.
Yeah, I'll say this. The whole NBA structure right now just gives me like a bad taste in my mouth. Like this whole idea that players just get to decide when they want to play and when they don't want to play. And, you know, I look like a James Harden who's supposed to be this great star who hasn't really won anything. And he decides he doesn't want to play anymore. He just like goes to strip clubs and gets fat. Like, I mean, and that's one of your stars. So like, yeah, that whole idea really does bother me. And that more often than not, these super teams that collude and come together, like, yeah, the structure of it bothers me. But anyway, that's my Bulls take.
Well, I'll finish with this. One question. Who can set the court on fire? Only the Bulls. So we'll see. But we were talking about it before we started doing this episode. Touch on too much time, little man. The Blackhawks. So we have some news to report, I actually talk about. Stan Bowman got promoted, which we touched on. But more important, I think, for actual playing, Kirby Dach's wrist. You saw the picture. Yikes. Now, they went out and signed Carl Soderberg in his 35 points in 70 games last year for the Arizona Coyotes. In your opinion, how big is this injury to Kirby for the Hawks?
It's really hard to say, to be honest with you. The Blackhawks are in a very confusing place, I feel like, for me at least. You know, they have some real talent.
Wait, why are you confused? Stan Bowman said we're rebuilding, but we're going to try to win this year. Why, How are you confused on that ideology? Now I'm confused, but yeah, continue.
I mean, the big thing for me when I think about it is like, besides maybe a quarterback in football, the most important position in any sports is a goaltender. And like, if you don't have that solid, then you don't have a solid team, period. So there's that. There's, you know, these aging stars. There's young players that are inconsistent. And when you speak about identity, I don't know. Is it give it to Kane and hope he can score? And if not, I don't know. Like, it's all very confusing. And yeah, then there's this guy who seemingly maybe didn't make the best decisions the last couple of years, who's getting promoted and is like, not only gets a promotion, but is like promoted on their social media as like, this guy is our leader and he's going to be the star. And look, there's another younger Wirtz. It's like, okay, great. Like, yeah. The best thing the Blackhawks have done is come out and said they're not going to change their name. That's the best offseason move they made.
Jeremy, the Dach injury, your thoughts?
It's not good. What can we say about the Blackhawks?
That's a hot take if I ever heard one.
Yeah, did you see the actual play? Was there like a really bad slash? I didn't see the actual play.
No, I don't think it was it a slash? I thought it was a puck off the rip. I wasn't watching. I watched USA's exhibition game of juniors. I did not watch Canada's. But yeah, sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
Well, we were talking off air. In my eyes, I just think the Blackhawks are going to be at the bottom of their conference. Like, what are we doing? There's nothing. I mean, we don't have a goalie. We have a defense that we hope will develop. Ian Mitchell's hopefully going to be good. Maybe Boquist takes a step. So that might be going the right direction. But, I mean, our forward depth is just horrible. You were telling me off air our depth chart. You can read that again, and we can start drinking. Kane, Taves,
Kane, Taves, DeBrincat, Kubalik, Zach Smith, Matthias Janmark, Carpenter, Soderberg, Kampf, Lucas Wallmark, Matthew Highmore, Dylan Strome, if he signs a contract. He still has not signed yet. And then Andrew Shaw's corpse, and then Pius Suter, who is like this year's European rookie that they signed. I think this injury is huge because what I saw in the Edmonton series was they were basically saying, look, Kirby Dach's going to be our second line center. It's happening right now. It's happening for the future. I feel that it's huge from the standpoint of you got to develop some chemistry with him and DeBrincat, because I know DeBrincat and Strome are bros, and they have a bromance that's amazing, which I always respect. But I don't think Dylan Strome's here long term. He's still without a contract. And the Hawks cap space is still a problem, even moving on from Saad and letting Crawford walk. So I think, and again, the big thing in hockey is you see what you got with these younger kids on their entry-level contracts, and they're making under $1 million, to see if because the old years of like the bridge deals of, a guy takes, 3 years, makes less than $1 million, signs Bufflin's initial deal with the Hawks after his entry level, 3 years, $3 million a year. It's a bridge deal to see if they can then get the big time deal. Those are now gone. What teams want to do is let's see if we can, the Nathan McKinnon strategy. Let's get him at 6, or David Pasternak. Let's get this guy at 6 to $8 million, when in 2 years he'll be playing like a $12, $13 million player. So problem is Doc, was really kind of quiet in the regular season, had a really good playoff series against Edmonton. Now he's hurt. If he comes back, he'll be back for only part of a year, a part of a shortened season. Now you got, decision time is the third year, and you don't have a whole lot to go off of. So I think it's huge from the standpoint of because again, you guys kind of allude to it. What direction is this team going with? We're rebuilding, but we're going to try to win. Those are two completely different mindsets. So it's frustrating because Bowman just does a lot of head-scratching stuff. He trades Oli Mata for a guy that we played against in the Carroll Stream Floor Hockey League. And by the way, we're going to still pay part of Mata's contract. It's yeah, we got cap relief, but now it's and then Saad. We trade Saad for, and I like Zadorov. He's a big defenseman. I think you pair him up with maybe Boquist, maybe Mitchell, someone younger. He can play a little defense, let the other guy play his offensive game, be himself, and he can also be out there and protect some of the younger guys, smaller guys. But then we're still paying part of Saad's salary. So when Doc got hurt, I was texting Byron. I said, the Hawks should probably go out and sign a veteran center. I mentioned Soderberg's name because he was the highest producing point guy on the market for centers at the time with 35 points. But we'll see. Be honest with you, little man, they have a lot of bottom 6 guys. Are going to get top 9 and possibly top 6 minutes. And just to remind you, their division this year is Hurricanes, Hawks, Blue Jackets, Stars, Red Wings, Panthers, Predators, Lightning. So the only team on paper that's worse than the Hawks is the Red Wings. And there is the Stanley, there's both teams are in the cup both teams are in the cup last year are in the Hawks division, Tampon Bay and Dallas. You got Carolina was in a conference final 2 years ago. You got Joe Quenneville, and you got Nashville. So, you got a lot of elite teams that could really put some hurting on the Hawks. So it sucks. It sucks. It'll be one good thing I'll say, and I'll get your thoughts. I'm glad the Hawks and Red Wings are back in the same division, because even if the Hawks are second to last, when they play Detroit in April, we'll be watching, we'll be chanting Detroit sucks, and we'll still care. So for nostalgia standpoint, I'm happy I can, drink a few cold ones and watch the Hawks play Detroit at least.
That's good for hockey. It's definitely good for hockey to have that rivalry back. I think that as someone who enjoys going on a bro hockey trip every year, the idea of having multiple options for Carolina and Florida, Miami, like Dallas, that's pretty exciting.
Well, if we could travel, it'd be nice to. Yeah.
By the way, can you remind me? We're like 2 weeks away. Who's starting in net on January 13th?
So that's a whole. So I have heard the first crack's gonna go to Malcolm Subban. I personally think by year's end, Lettinen, is that his name? Lankinen, Kevin Lankinen. He's been in Rock for the last couple of years. I feel like it'll be his job because I feel like Malcolm Subban, you know what he is at this point. This is his third club he's been with. He was drafted by Boston, drafted in the expansion draft, I believe, by Vegas, and both those teams gave up on him. I feel like if and those are two well-run organizations, I don't see them missing on something the Hawks see that no one else sees. And Colin Delia, backup maybe. I mean, what worries me is the defense in front of them is not your shutdown elite defense group. It's a group that's going to give up some A+ and B+ chances consistently. And, you look at last year's team that finished dead last in their own division. How many of those were goalie wins? Where Robin Leonard or Crawford, when Leonard was with the club, gave up 3 goals and they should have probably given up 6 goals. The Hawks won 4-3. So I just don't know if your strategy is going to be throw the puck out there. We're going to trade chances, first team to 5 wins. I just don't like that strategy. And again, Zadorov is in, but I don't see the defense group. I feel like Bowman's trying to copycat what the Blue Jackets did. Let Bobrovsky walk in free agency last offseason to Florida. They had 2 unknowns in goalie, Corpusalo and Elvis. And then they played really well, made the playoffs with 1,000 entries. But the Blue Jackets also have Seth Jones and Zach Werenski in their defensive group. John Tortorella's system is everyone blocks shots. You keep the pucks out and your star players drop to a knee and block shots. Colleton's defensive system is players looking lost, cherry picking, and no defensive responsibility in your own zone. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times the Hawks give up.
Yep. That face. I will say I'm going to pound the over on total.
Unmarked wide. I mean, it's mind blowing. You're like, these are professionals, and this is something that they talk about. And I don't know, but Lettinen's last year in Rockford played 21 games in 1920, save percentage just over 900, 3.03 goals against average. So take what you want with it. I don't believe he played for Colleton in Rockford either. So but yeah, that's goalie's gonna be a mystery. Yeah, 13th's the first game, so less than 3 weeks. Dylan Strome still not signed. It's gonna be rough, but I'm excited for the Red Wings. I'm excited for the schedule format. For those who don't know, they're basically doing kind of like a mini baseball, home and home. They go to Dallas. They play Dallas Tuesday. They play Dallas Thursday in Dallas. And then they move on to a different team on Saturday. Play them Saturday and Monday. So there will be some games that are back-to-back. But it's going to be I think you're going to get some old-school physical hockey. You're playing a team twice in 3 days, back-to-back games. You're going to get a little more grit, a little more sandpaper. It'll be exciting. Jeremy, your final thought? Oh, go ahead. No. You spoke. Go ahead.
I also want to say this about the Blackhawks and NHL. 0 COVID issues in the NHL last season. Like, very, very impressive. Something.
NBA did it too with the bubble.
Yeah.
So Jeremy, your final thoughts on the Hawks before we move on.
Get your beers ready, Hawks fans.
Speaking of getting your beers ready, one thing, Tony La Russa, he's free. Free at last. Free at last. Sox fans, I have one thing to say. Win or lose, we're going to booze, baby. Any White Sox thoughts before we move on? I got nothing.
I like Adam Eaton signing.
Really?
Yeah. Better than who's that right fielder we played?
Nomar Mazara?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? You opened this can of worms. I have really warmed up to the Lance Lynn trade over time with the Adam Eaton signing. Because, again, Adam Eaton it's been on record, he was part of the reason why that clubhouse was so dysfunctional in 2016. Like, he didn't get along with a lot of guys. So if he's more mature now, great, but he didn't play well last year. And last time he was here, it was not good. And he's a freaking retread. Every one of our teams, the Hawks do it. The Sox are now doing it. The Bulls might do it. I mean, it's.
I think he could be a good contact hitter that can get on base, and we have a bunch of power hitters, and he'll be kind of complimentary. And you don't have to be your everyday right fielder. Split the time with Engel. Fine with that.
The only thing is that the Sox still need a DH because Parrott's gone. Edwin's gone. Parrot's gone. I would love to see.
How's Schwarber doing? Get Schwarber out here.
How great would it be, Matthew? How much would you love this? I thought about this the other night, or maybe the other week. What if the Sox went out and signed Katana and Schwarber, just as like a middle finger to the Cubs? Like, yeah, we won the Jose Quintana trade, and we're bringing him back.
As a fourth, fifth starter, that'd be fine.
Well, you would think Giolito, Keuchel, Lynn, Kopech, Cease. So, I mean, I bring Katana in as like a long reliever, and like, again, if Kopech is not ready, basically to be a better version of Gio Gonzalez, which is not that difficult to be a better version of Gio
That
Gonzalez.
rotation already sounds way better than last year.
Lance Lynn's huge. He'll be the glue. He's good. He's going to get you 6 innings.
And our lineup stacked. If we stay healthy, I mean, we should be really good.
Yeah. Even with La Russa taking a little sips in the dugout, I don't care, man. Again, I said it last time. If you have a half an average baseball brain, you can coach this team to the playoffs.
I guess
you can't get in your own way.
The only guy we're going to miss is James McCann.
Yeah, Grandal needs to play better. But you know what, though? I'm excited for Zach Collins to get reps.
Yeah.
Because I want to see what we got. If he's garbage, move on. But he's gotten no ABs. And he played catcher in college. But, Matthew, your thoughts? You want to comment on, you're the swing vote. I don't like Eaton signing. Jeremy does. You're the swing vote.
I didn't like it just because it was a retread, to be honest with you. Like, that's what I mean, I remember him. I know I liked him when he played in the White Sox the first time. I think, is he the one that went to Miami of Ohio?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So definitely a bro, and I can see how his broness could definitely rub some people the wrong way. But it's nice because he's coming into a clubhouse where there's going to be bigger stars than him for sure. And I think the big stars have the right mindset to deal with all of this other craziness, which is great.
It'll only be a problem if they lose. If they start losing, then he's going to be a problem.
No, I will say the one thing I like, he won a World Series on a younger team with the Nationals.
In that World Series.
I'm sorry?
He had big hits in that World Series.
No, yes. Okay, and that's the last time he played good baseball. So it'll be 2 years ago.
Carry the team. We're asking him to split time in right field better than Nomar Mazara.
No, but if the goal was to find someone better than Nomar Mazara, then okay, close your eyes and just have everyone's name on a dartboard and throw the dart. You'll hit some. I mean, if that again, Jeremy, I think I told us last time. The White Sox are a destination now. They're a young team with good pitching. Like if I was a right fielder, I would say so I can go there and get protection in the lineup with a Jose Abreu, with Tim Anderson. I'm going to have Yohan Moncada. I have Eloy Jimenez. I mean, you're going to have opportunities to A, get on base to be knocked in, or B, knock in some of these guys. We shouldn't be settling we just shouldn't. I don't understand the mindset of, oh, we're still, it's like, and again, there's no big money tied up to anybody yet. I will say, I didn't want them to pull a Cubs, meaning signing George Springer. It's like an 8-year deal, where after 2 years, you're like, oh man, this is not good. Because the Jason Hayward contract is handcuffed from the Cubs what they can do with certain things. So, but it's COVID. I get it. Reinsdorf has never been known to pay top dollar. So I don't know. I am very excited for spring training. I will be because again, just think about this, guys. After the Bears make the playoffs, their season ends. We're gonna have Blackhawks and Bulls like every night. A lot of losses, and then but then it's gonna be spring training, and then how great would it be? Like, I'm getting way ahead of myself and going all over the place, but it's a Sunday night. I'm old. How great would it be like if the vaccine came out like the week before March Madness and we had spring training on? So it's like we're all together, we're broing down, we have the tournament we can watch and bet on, and then we got the White Sox are starting in like 3 weeks. Like that to me would be, I'll deal with. Are they losing now? No, they're winning by 7. Okay, I would deal with getting the Bulls and Hawks brains bashed every night for essentially 3 months to get that. But I'm excited. I am excited for the White Sox. It's been an uneventful offseason in baseball altogether, by the way. Very uneventful. So still time. We'll see. Either one give final thoughts on the South Side.
Should be exciting.
Bottoms up, Tony.
Yeah.
I love that expression. Win or lose, we booze. Matthew, final topic, college football. We didn't really touch on this. A little bit, but I want to talk about U of I first. Since we've done our previous episode 1, Lovey is again unemployed. And Brent, eat your bacon Bielema, head coach a week later. Your thoughts on either Lovey being shit-canned, Brett coming in, both?
The thought of like, okay, we're going to take on Wisconsin and Arkansas's reject, not great. But I'm going to try to stay a little bit positive because he does have a few things that I think could help. I mean, he does have some experience, but beyond that, he's from Illinois. He's from rural Illinois. He should be able to get that like in-state recruit, the one that shows up every year, or 1 or 2 that can play. Hopefully, he'll be able to relate to his linemen. 2 offensive linemen already said they were going to come back, which is good. One that actually has some talent. Probably take them out for multiple dinners and they can bond over that. The issue I see is I don't know how his style, when he won at Wisconsin, I don't know if that style can work the way that Illinois gets players. Probably not. Yeah, he's from Illinois. He just seems like way too. The thing that I don't like about it, he's way too complacent. Like he's already, I'm proven. I won the Big Ten, and I'm coming back home. I'm going full circle. It's like, oh, you're going full circle into your grave, just like coast. I don't think he ever really had a passion for Illinois. Otherwise, he would have tried to go there, before. And yeah, so there's things I guess that you could be hopeful for, and then there's just, is this really the best we can do? Is this $4 million at a broke state? Like, Illinois is a broke state, and we're paying that guy $4 million to coach football. Like, I don't know. Jeremy, what do you think?
Kevin, fill me in because I haven't done my research on him. Take me through the timeline of Brett Bielema. He was at Wisconsin at one point, then Arkansas. He's been unemployed lately. What's he been?
No, he's been jumping around. So one point I want to touch on, Matthew, is I wouldn't really call him Wisconsin's reject. He left Wisconsin openly, and then he is a reject of the SEC. So I will give you that. But yeah, I mean, I think he had a job for life, Wisconsin, if he wanted it. After getting shit canned by Arkansas, he did 2-year stint with the Pats, I think as a consultant and as an advisor. And then he was currently this past season the linebacker. He followed Joe Judge from New England to the Giants. He was a linebacker coach. So he's been with Bill Belichick and a Bill Belichick disciple the last 3 years. So take that with what you want.
Well,
so that's what he's been doing. So
I
not in
disagree.
college, but in football.
I mean, with the current roster, I mean, the problem is Lovey never really established any identity either with what he wanted to bring with Illinois. They wanted to run the spread offense and play defense, but like neither one of those really worked well. And then our best quarterback was Brandon Peters, who is not really a spread quarterback. I mean, this Isaiah Williams kid showed flashes, but we don't have an identity. And I think I disagree. I think if we can't do that this year, but like in years to come, if we get some recruits that want to play like Wisconsin style, why can't we do that? Or Northwestern, just try to like have a decent O-line, run the ball. We've been able to do that in the past, and like ideally play some defense too and win some ugly games.
I'll just kind of piggyback to two things you guys said that was similar. I think his style of play can actually work, Matthew, if he gets the right players. Because, I mean, it works in Iowa. It works in Wisconsin. It kind of works in Northwestern. And, look, you guys are alum. I acted like an alum when I used to go visit you guys and party down there. I mean, again, I want Illinois football to do well, but let's be realistic with our expectations. They're probably not going to win a national championship in the near future. But there is zero reason why this team should not every 4 years competing for a in the Big Ten championship hunt. Like I don't see why, like, what Iowa can do, what Northwestern can do, especially U of I can do that. Like that has always kind of bothered me. It's like, well, they're not Ohio State. Okay, yes, Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson are in their own universe with everyone else in college football, period. Not just U of I, everybody. But to sit there and say, to your point, Matthew, the in-state recruits that cross the line and go to Iowa and go to Wisconsin, it's infuriating to us as Illinois fans because it's really those kids should not leave. And if Brent Bielema does what we always joke about, like the U did in the 80s, the state of Miami, call it the state of Chicago, the state of Champaign, whatever, rope off certain places in Illinois and being like, look, if we want a player in this area, we're getting him. And I feel like I'm in the minority where it's like, I don't think he was as bad as he truly was at Arkansas, but I don't think he was as good as everyone thought he was at Wisconsin. Because you got to remember, he followed Barry Alvarez. He was given the keys to the Cadillac and said, do not crash it. Now, I will say, after Barry's last recruits, I mean, years, so he took over for Alvarez in 06. So 06, 07, 08 still would have been Barry Alvarez's recruits. So he had 4 seasons of his recruits, 9, 10, 11, and 12. 2009, 10 wins. 2010, 11 wins. 2011, 11 wins. 2012, 8 wins. So now, again, he still was riding the coattails. And again, Barry Alvarez is still at the university, still employed by the university, still there. So it still has that mystique where it's not like he's gone. It's like he changed the program. He went to Arkansas in his 5 years there. He won 7 games or more 3 times. So, and again, I know it's not setting the world on fire, but again, Arkansas it's tough unless you're a sleazebag. What's his name? That Petrino. I mean, you have to be a real piece of shit to win in Arkansas in the SEC for what you're competing against. I mean, if you're going to go down and say we're going to do things the right way, we're going to play tough-nosed football, you're going to get 5 to 7 wins max. So, at first I didn't like the hire, but I sat down and said, okay, who else could they have gotten that would have been a head and shoulders better hire? Are there any names you guys can think of?
Nope.
Because my only concern is if you dip your toe in the MAC again, I hate to bring up Tim Beckham's name, but like, for example, if they were to hire the next PJ Fleck, would that guy stick around U of I long term? If that guy were to get 7 wins and 8 wins with Lovey's recruits, and then, a mid-level SEC team offers him a job, a upper-level Big 12 team offers him a job, would he jump ship? The one good thing, unless Ohio State, Brent Bielema will never go back to the SEC. He'll never go back to the SEC. He just won't. So now you're saying, okay, Ohio State, Texas would be the only type of job he'd leave U of I for. So I don't. So from that standpoint, it's kind of a settling hire. But again, I mean, he's what 90 some games he's won as a coach, 97 wins as a head coach. So I've warmed up to it because again, I think he can get U of I in the next 4 years back to 8 wins consistently. And then maybe get that special 1 year where things go your way. You have a senior quarterback, you have a first-round talent on both sides of the trenches, and you can catch Ohio State and the Michigans in an off year. I mean, guys, Northwestern's been to what, 2 Big Ten championships in the last 3-4 years?
Yeah.
I mean, can accomplish that.
I'll tell you that right now. Within his first 2 years, if he beats Northwestern once, then
that'd be great.
Progress.
Final thoughts on Bacon Bielema?
We end it. We're going to do Notre Dame 20-point spread.
Now you mentioned it, we have to talk about it. Yeah, that was a rough Saturday. Bielema getting hired was the best news that Saturday because U of I got absolutely routed by Penn State, and then Notre Dame laid an egg again on the national stage against Clemson. I'll start off by saying this. Notre Dame deserved to be the 4th team in the playoff. There is no team that has a better win than Clemson, has a better second win at North Carolina. Yes, they sucked against Clemson. Yeah, they're going to lose to Alabama, but there's not a 4th team. There's not another team that you could have made the argument. The only team that I would have been okay with is if the committee said, look, we're putting Cincinnati in because they're undefeated. I'd be like, look, okay, that's fine because it is what it is. Because Notre Dame was undefeated without a conference championship in 2018. Cincinnati won the conference championship. I do think Notre Dame's going to cover against Alabama. I think the line is slightly inflated because of the Clemson game. I think that Alabama, as well coached as they are, they might be looking ahead to Clemson when the game starts. Notre Dame really shot themselves in the foot over and over and over again against Clemson. Now, you got to give credit to Clemson because they're a really good football team, and Trevor Lawrence is amazing. But leaving the touchdown on the field the first possession, taking a sack on 3rd down and having to kick a 50-yard field goal, go up 3-0. Then you pick off Trevor Lawrence, and then you don't get a touchdown inside the 10, then you miss a 20-yard field goal. Then, if you have a touchdown, you march down the field, and there's a drop on 4th and 3. If you're going to compete in the big games against the very few teams that are above you in that tier, Clemson, Bama, Ohio State, you can't have all that go against you. And, it was one of those things where I liked how the defensive played for the most part in the second half. But, again, was that Clemson taking their foot off the gas pedal? Probably a little bit. I want them to get back to running the ball, kind of do what the Bears do. Run the ball with Kyrie and that good offensive line. Get the tight ends involved, and convert on 3rd downs. Turn field goals into touchdowns. When you're inside the 10-yard line, get 7 points. This Bama defense is not as good as Clemson's. So Notre Dame should be able to score 28 points. So that's why I think the spread's a little too big. Your thoughts, Matthew?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. The spread's too big. I think Notre Dame is going to cover. I think if they can run the ball and they can stop the run, then they got a shot. Like, they got an outside shot, but they got a shot. I mean, there's some special, X factors going on. You never know in college, especially. You get the kicking game involved. Ian Book, throughout his career, has made some plays that are just sort of like college wow sometimes. Like, every once in a while, he'll throw out like a Johnny Manziel-esque type play where it's like that would never work outside of college, but somehow it worked. If he has an amazing game, the defense steps it up a little bit. I think it could be close. It could be competitive. It could be fun. I think Notre Dame as a program and for national reputation, needs it to be close. And if somehow they could pull off the upset, even if they lose to Clemson in the national championship by 14 points, like beating a team like that would do a lot, I think, to help them when they're trying to get to that, upper echelon. And by the way, I do agree they deserve to get in. The one thing that people outside of Notre Dame fans always say is, "Oh, they don't play in the conference. They never really." The ACC was the toughest conference because they had the most amount of games.
Mm-hmm.
They had the most amount of games. You had to come out and compete pretty much every Saturday. And Notre Dame went through it, and they got to the championship, and they ended the season with only one loss. And they deserve to get in, and here they are. We'll see what happens. Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah, they better make it somewhat exciting and cover, because if not, shame on them. I mean, they just can't afford to have another blowout at a big stage.
Yeah,
I think it'd be college football too, to be honest with you, because college football is starting to turn into like the NBA a little bit.
Correct.
You know what's going to happen.
That's a great point. I think Joel Klatt made this point on Fox Sports that 10 years ago you could recruit. He's gone. 10 years ago, that's a great point though. 10 years ago you could recruit on going to a bowl game. Like you can go to a young man's house in high school and say, look, there's only two teams going to the national championship, but we go to the Rose Bowl. We go to the Fiesta. We go to the Orange Bowl. With the playoff now, it's like you have to recruit kids like we're going to the playoff. Like no, and it is becoming Clemson and Bama only, where the committee seems very gung-ho on putting teams like that in where results are not – now, this year they got it right. I really do think they had the four best teams. But, it's one of those things where the playoff is the right solution, but the current formula I don't think is the right solution. Is it expanding it? It's a whole discussion for a whole other day. But it would be really great for college football if both games are competitive. If it's a one-score game for Clemson or Ohio State and it's a single-digit to two-possession, 10-point game for Notre Dame. And, of course, I want them to win. Of course, I'll get hyped up come Friday. But I'm with you. I'll say this to your Ian Book comment. It's also he does those plays against Pittsburgh, Wake Forest, Louisville, and then you also say to yourself, that's not going to work against Clemson. That's not going to work against that. I mean, so I want him to be true to his best self, which is not turning the ball over, getting rid of the ball quickly, getting it in the hands of playmakers, and not taking sacks. I think that because your strength is running the ball, and you can allude to this, you played the position at a high level. If your identity is running the ball and you give up a 7-yard sack, it really puts you in a position where I don't think Notre Dame has the athletes at receivers that can really deal with the athletes in one-on-one or even or getting themselves open downfield against the athletes of the Alabamas and Clemsons of the world. Yeah. I feel like their strength is the play action, bump and run, getting like Benji involved as a bigger receiver who has a wider, radius. Michael Mayer the same way. Javon McKinley as well. He's a bigger target too, but it's like they don't have the speed or the athleticism, I think, to, all right, we need you to get open 15 yards downfield and create the space and create the athletic ability to get the first down. So go ahead. Sorry.
Final thought, and we're getting on like an hour, 15 minutes.
Yeah, no.
I think that the most important player for like his future that's coming up in the playoff is Justin Field. Like he did not look good in the Big Ten championship.
No.
You want the Jets to be excited about drafting you. You better play better.
I'll agree with you. I'll say this: if he puts up a dud against Clemson, I bet you the Jets sit down and have a long conversation of Sam Darnold versus Justin Fields. And do they invest in the tackle from Oregon, or they trade the second overall pick, get a haul of picks, and just kind of do that? Because I'm with you. His draft value is very much going to hinge, I think, on because he played well last year against Clemson in the playoff. I think he's capable of doing it again, but he did not look good. I mean, is there a worse way to look via the win than how Ohio State looked against Northwestern? I mean, that was just an ugly game. That was just an ugly, like, it turned into bully ball in the second half of, like, hand the ball off, run left, run right. I mean, it was like playing NCAA football on PS2 when we were kids on easy, and just running the ball right off tackle or smash, and it's just like that. But my final thought is not football related. Hockey, World Juniors, USA is 1-1. Big win yesterday, 11-0 against Austria. Big game tomorrow. For any hockey fan, it kind of cures your little sickness of missing hockey. And it's USA. It's it's good for the country. But good to see you, little man. Thank you, JJ, for making the comeback and ending early. But episode 2 in the books. Again, a longer one, but hey, man, when you don't talk for this long, that's what happens. Like and subscribe below. Thank you for the love and support, and we will see you next time.